Welcome back here to the show. Whether you're joining us in the Quad Cities, you're joining us down in Alton, in Mattoon, Effingham, Danville, we appreciate it. Lincoln, I'm glad you're along here for the show. Larry, Mike, and Brad, joined now by Matt Stevens. He's the football writer and analyst for IlliniGuys.com, wearing a different hat for us in May as he has been chronicling the trials and tribulations of Illini men's golf. They go out to the NCAA championship, tie for the regional title at Atkins, historic week there in Urbana. But Matt, they went out and boy, Mike Spall's been telling us all season long this team is just woefully inconsistent. And boy, did they show that out in California, failing to advance to the round of stroke play.
Yeah, I've known Mike my whole life. He's nice and pissed right now. There's no sugarcoating this. He really thought Saturday was going to be was what it was. And everybody has had a kind of putrid round in Carlsbad. That's the way that the stroke play works. And then I think he thought Sunday was going to be the bounce back, and it didn't. It went the other way. And
bounce.
Yeah, I think and then they got bounced out. And I think it made Mike really mad, because I think he probably talked to them after Saturday that, hey, you got to get your mind, otherwise this is going to happen. And then sure enough, they went and it happened. Yeah, there's a lot of things that's got to get figured out once they get back to campus, and Mike's got to probably think about this for a long time and figure out how to make this not happen. But yeah, I think it's, again, like I said last week, guys, it's like talking to Nick Saban about his football team. Like, the standard is the standard, and if you finish 18th in the country, usually a lot of people would take that. And Mike's going to look at that as a poor end of the season, and that's just the reason the standard is the standard in Champaign-Urbana now, especially in that sport.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's why when you have a young team, it's obviously a struggle. Now, Who doesn't have a young team, Matt?
Who's that?
The Illini football team. It's not a young team. They are a team.
Get old, stay old.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of people are excited. One of the reasons, obviously, they're talented, they're old, they're proven, experienced. As we look into, we just wrap up this kind of spring portal period. A lot of people want to get rid of it, but they didn't really add any big splash guys in the spring. But they added some depth pieces that are probably going to help them a little bit, especially if they have some injuries. Would you say that is accurate?
I think they filled out the roster the way they wanted to. I think if the guys that they brought in the spring are key contributors in 2025, I think something went drastically wrong. But I think that if you see them on special teams and you see them at the bottom of the depth chart position-wise, yeah, I think that's what they wanted. They wanted guys that were just going to fill out the roster, that had college football experience, and that were hungry to play at a higher level. I think that's the safe way to describe how Illinois approached the post-spring portal, because they knew what they had and they were pretty happy with what they had, probably in their top 44, which is they're too deep on both sides of the ball.
So, Matt, last year you talked about the Kansas game being a pivotal game for Illinois. Do you have a pivotal game on this year's schedule?
Sure do. It's in Bloomington, Indiana, because I think that's a playoff. I think that's a playoff eliminator right then and there. I think if Illinois wins it, I think Illinois can go potentially 10-2 and say, hey, we have that win in Bloomington. We have that win, depending on how the schedule goes. But if we get that win in Durham early on in the year at Duke, we've got some other wins against some bowl teams, 10-2. We should be knocking on the door on Selection Sunday after the championship games to say, hey, we have a shot here. And Indiana knows they need that one because their non-conference schedule is a joke, and they need that one in order to probably get to 11-1 or 9 or 10-2 in order to have a chance to get in the college football playoffs. Yeah, I think a lot of people should look at that game in Bloomington and go, hey, that's the game where it can get on the tracks for Illinois real quick. Or it can get off the tracks really quick too, because that's before you play USC, that's before you play Ohio State, that's before you play Wisconsin. And there's a lot of veterans on this team that the standard is different now in Champaign-Urbana and in the Smith Center. And if they're not going to go to a quality bowl game, I kind of wonder what November is going to be like, because November was the month to remember in 2024. If they're not in contention, it could go the other way, just like it did in 2023. But you could get right on the tracks for where you want to be if you pick up that win in Bloomington.
Matt, I'm glad you mentioned that, because we tend to look past Indiana just because they have it. You look past Indiana in football. Who looks at Indiana in football? We look at, the sexy teams, USC and Ohio State. But you're exactly right. That's a game right there that Illinois should be 3-0. But again, it's been a long time since Illinois has run the table in the non-conference. It's a huge game. And like you said, for Indiana, too, to prove that last year wasn't a fluke. And I think two really good coaches, that could be really one of those games that could be a 3:30 or 2:30 Central Time CBS game in terms of a marquee game that weekend.
It could be big noon kickoff. Like, in all honesty, like
Yeah.
it could really be big noon kickoff. And Larry, everything you said is correct, except for the fact that the Marlboro man, Signetti, has actually done some pretty amazing things in the portal again in Bloomington. And they've reloaded that team with non-James Madison transfers now, and we'll see how that works. But yeah, it's a huge coaching matchup. It's a huge quarterback matchup because Fernando Mendoza coming from Cal over to Indiana is a really good player and a possible NFL draft prospect. And we know what a lot of people think of Luke Altmaier in his third year as a starter. So that has all the makings, I think, of big noon kickoff if both teams are undefeated. And if Indiana's not undefeated at that point, something went drastically wrong, depending on if you look at the first three games that they're going to play this year.
By the way, does God hate Luke Fickell up in Wisconsin? Because he plays Alabama, Michigan, Iowa, Ohio State, Oregon, Washington, Indiana, and Illinois, along with Minnesota. My goodness, Wisconsin could be better than they are last year and win 3 games.
The over-under on Wisconsin, I think, is 5.5.
Oof.
But also, let's look at it this way, though. If you turn it around, if you feel like Wisconsin has any chance to turn it around and you get a couple of those and you win the games you're supposed to, you're looking at 8 or 9 wins at that point with that schedule. Yeah, there's an opportunity for Luke Fickell to turn it around and prove that this is exactly what they hired. And I would have made the hire 100 times out of 100 after what he did at Cincinnati. But you're right, Mike, that's a bear of a schedule, except for the fact that they do have the talent to win a lot of those games in the league, because I will tell you that the middle of the Big Ten past the top tier is you take some dice, you roll it, and you see what happens. Illinois won a lot of close games last year. And if you use Illinois in that example, and I think Wisconsin was on the other end of a lot of those close games. They pushed Oregon in Madison more than anybody's been pushed except for Ohio State. They have the talent to go win a couple of those games. If you win a couple of those games, now you're staring down an 8-9 win season.
Yeah.
Good luck, Luke.
Yeah, I don't know. And I think Luke needs some help from Luke Skywalker. He needs the Force to help him out. I don't know if it's going to work.
This is not the team you're looking for.
Move the ball away from the guys. No miss kicks, but no, I'm just not I don't know. That's interesting. Fickell's, I think he he has an opportunity also to be unemployed at the end of the season.
He does too. Yeah, it could go the other way too. You're right. Yeah. Just as easily as it could go to a 9-win season, it could go to a 3-win season, and they're looking for another coach in Madison. They're probably trying to hire Lance Leipold like a lot of people wanted him to do in the first place.
Yeah. Yep. Interesting stuff. Hey, Matt, we appreciate it. Thanks for your time as always. Enjoy the weekend. We'll talk to you soon.
Not a problem. Have a good one, guys.
All right, Matt Stevens, once again, football writer and analyst for IlliniGuys.com. Great stuff as always on the website, and we appreciate when he spends a few minutes with us here. All right, coming up next, Brian Barnhart, the voice of the Illini, next on the Sports Spectacular.